It had been 2 days since you and Nomu first explored the giant city past the sea. A magical moment with lots of shopping, new toys, games, and movies. The boy you met had finally called you, and you had actually gone worried for a moment. With a grunt, Nomu had given you the phone while you were eating instant ramen noodles you had bought from the city. Peasant food, Uncle Kurigiri had called it. Hey, said a familiar voice on the phone. It's Bakugo. Your friend gave me your number. He sounded worried. He probably afraid he'd called the wrong number. You smiled and answered with a gentle, Yes, hello. I remember you, Katsuki, right? He chuckled. Was just wondering if you, wanted to go out on a date. You surpassed a squeal and quickly placed your hand on the phone's mic. No, Moo? You giggled. He called me on a date. Nomu grunted in acknowledgement. Yes, of course, you said happily. That's when you two went silent for a moment. You could practically feel how nervous he was. How about today sound? Like today, after I'm done with school, we can go to the mall. You looked at Nomu. We're going on a date today! Nomu made a noise between a grunt. He clearly wasn't fully approving of this. Worried lady become hurt, he said, but you had already had the phone back to your ear. Honestly, I've never done this before, so, do I come over to your house, or do you come over to mine? Bakugo asked with an awkward chuckle. Pretty sure you can't reach my house unless you know my uncle. When should I be, and when? My house over at 3. I can get a pass to go home, and I'll be there at 3:30. So he thought for a moment. Pick me up at 4:30. And he told you his address. So please don't be late. My mom will think I'm pranking her. You giggled. See you soon, you said before hanging up. Your first date. What should you wear? Without thinking, you rushed to your room and began throwing the clothes around, mostly various dresses. In fact, you had only pretty, frilly dresses. Noma made his way up the stairs behind you, and when he entered your room, you showed him the dress you picked. What about this one? You asked. The monster tilted its head. It was a short white dress perfectly fit for a summer walk. Dirty. You raised an eyebrow. Food. Dirty. Food will make it dirty. Of course. You turned around and placed it back into your closet. More dresses flying through the room when one landed on Nomu's head, and he carefully picked it off. And stared at it. It was a dress that looked very similar to the one he had first met you in. No, with not much force, but enough to catch you off guard, he threw it. Hey, what was that for? Your Nomu smirked, and just cracked lips went up into a toothy grin. Oh, you want me to wear this? The monster tilted. You went to change. How do I look? Your Nomu tilted his head to the left, then to the right, before giving you a thumbs up. Is it wearing black on a date bad luck or something? You said while going through an assortment of hats. The question was more to yourself, since you knew Nomu wouldn't be able to answer it since, too complicating for him, but that was when you were surprised by a different voice. Miss, may I enter myself into this discussion? You shrieked and turned around to see. Kurigiri stood in the doorframe, his arms crossed. May I ask what you were doing hiding behind my back? All right, you hadn't told him yet. I want to say it's none of your business, but I also rely on you to get to my date. So, yeah, I'm going on a date. Could you pretty please teleport me there? Kurigiri blinked. If he could, really. Date? Who? When? How? You giggled. His name is Bakugo Katsuki. Bakugo Katsuki? Kurigiri shouted, surprised. Do you know him? Your shadowy uncle turned around, mumbling something. I will make a call, but I'm sure I can take the lady to her date. Your eyes widened, surprised. You had made a fucking 12-minute sob story to convince this man, but guess it was useless. I'll be back, miss. In the meantime, remember to wear a hat to protect your skin from the sun. Of course, uncle. The dark figure left. In the end, it had taken you an hour to get all your clothes ready. It seemed your uncle had given the green light to let you go. As he was happily whistling while cleaning the dishes, while you were explaining the details. When the clock hit exactly 4:30, Kirigiri teleported you and Nomu to the doorstep of Katsuki's household. Before your uncle vanished in a puff of smoke, he said just like last time, "Go to our base when you're done." But something was different. Shigaraki also wishes that you tell him every detail. He's very excited about this opportunity. You were about to ask him what he meant with opportunity, but the shadowy man was already gone. You looked back. Nomu was idly standing a few feet away from the sidewalk. He was wearing a black leather coat with the hood pulled up. Then you turned back towards the door, your heart racing with anticipation, and with a shaking hand, you rang the doorbell. "That's her!" you heard Bakugo shout. "What do you mean, it's her?" shouted a female voice. "I told you a girl was coming over," he shouted again. "I thought you were joking." A few seconds later, a woman opened the door that looked very much like Bakugo. "Hello," you said with a bright smile. The woman blushed and turned around. "How the hell did you do that?" she shouted, then looked back at you. "Sorry, sweetie. He isn't ready yet. Come in," she said as you stepped inside. You had never been in a different person's house before. Obviously, this place was much smaller than your mansion. It was neatly packed with various items. It honestly made you feel cozy and soft, and the soft smell of curry wafted from what you assumed was the kitchen. Bakugo was making his way down a flight of stairs when his mom turned red like a tomato. Bakugo was still wearing his school uniform. "You are not wearing that!" shouted his mom. His school... And you swallowed a giggle. "What do you mean? You hag, I look perfectly fine." His mother gestured to you, then to him, then back to you, and back to him. At a normal volume, his mother stuttered out, "I have no idea how you did that. And if you don't behave yourself at your best, I will call for a postnatal abortion." "A what?" you wondered. Suddenly, a man with brown hair appeared from the door next to you, and with a gentle smile, he said, "Come over. These two will be at it for a while." You nodded and followed the man into Bakugo's living room. He sat down on a comfy-looking sofa while you sat down on a couch that was opposite to him. "I'm sorry, my wife can be a little hot-headed." His voice was very calming. "It's fine. I don't have a lot of experience with parents." "Is it always this loud?" you asked. Bakugo's dad shook his head. Yes and no. Right now it's mostly excitement for two reasons. For one, he'd never invited a girl to come home. He's a hardhead just like his mother, so we assume he would be in his late 20s when he would finally be calm enough to ask someone out. And then actually get a date. Bakugo's mom now came into the room with a soft smile on her lips. "Hey, sweetie. He will be here in a minute." She turned around and shouted from the hallway, "Or else!" His mother sighed and sat down on the arm of her husband's couch. "How did you two meet?" she asked with a smile. "I was at the mall with Nomu and he just appeared and asked me for my number." His dad sighed. "That's my boy." But his mom's brows were furrowed. "Who is Nomu?" she asked. "Oh, he's a servant my father created with his quirk. He's waiting outside for me now. He never leaves my side. It was hell convincing him earlier to get him to stay put while I'm in here. He is very worried." Bakugo's mom sighed. "While we're on the top of quirks, what's yours?" she asked. "Fiddling with your thumbs. My father forbid me to talk about it. The topic of your quirk was really sensitive since it had killed your mother. when it first manifested. Realizing that sensitive subject, his dad quickly entrusted the topic of your quirk was sensitive since it killed your mother. Oh my god, why did I say this twice? Okay. Mitsuki, sweetie, why don't you go check on her son? The woman was about to nod when the door swung open. There was Bakugo with a scarf. He was wearing an open black leather jacket with white t-shirt under it, black pants, and fitting black shoes. His hair was messy, since it looked like an attempt to be tamed, but looked like halfway abandoned. You look like a manga protagonist, you giggled, while his parents just sighed with relief. Well, at least she likes it, mumbled Bakugo's mother under her breath. With a blush, Bakugo approached you, held out his hand. You ready? He muttered. With a gentle smile, you took his callous yet soft hand. Of course, Bakugo. He blushed harder and led you outside while you two were approaching the sidewalk. You couldn't help but look it back. Both Bakugo's parents had their noses pressed against the window, literally looking at the two of you, probably still thinking this was still an informational prank. Ignore them, he growled, and he returned your attention towards him. When you reached the sidewalk, Nomu approached, staying in a few feet away. Don't worry about him. I told Nomu that I would be very disappointed in him if he ruins this for me. After all, you can go to and smile. Oh, you looked at him and smiled. This is my first date after all? With a heavy blush, Bakugo answered, mine too. He gave a nervous chuckle. So, what do you want to do first?